What's up, everybody? Pat Biondi here with the Elevate Movement podcast powered by the National Sports Association. Today, I am talking with Cj Beatty, the baseball softball motivator, and you can hear us talk a lot about CJ's journey, getting recruited, and that whole process, getting drafted, his time and experience in the minor leagues, and then also hear us talk a lot about how to develop mental toughness, how to take ownership and accountability for whatever it is you're pursuing, whether that's baseball or anything else. We also have a couple segments in here that might be good for young coaches and how to communicate and connect with players. So if you're a young player looking to learn and get the edge to get to the highest level, I recommend tuning in and taking notes. So thanks. I hope you guys enjoy the episode. And without further ado, here we go. We may as well just jump right into it then. So first of all, nice to meet you. I appreciate you coming on and talking. I kind of just stumbled upon your Instagram, and a lot of what you posted, I commented on a couple of different things just because it resonated with me. So the way that you were talking about things and what you were talking about resonated with me. And so I reached out because I think we're in similar positions as far as working with a lot of young players right now. And I wanted to first get a feel for everybody listening, where you're from, a little bit of your background. So if we could just talk a little bit about your playing career and your journey from high school to college to pro ball, and then we'll get into a little bit of the coaching and where you're at right now.
For sure, for sure. Well, yeah, appreciate the opportunity for being on here, man. Anytime I get a chance to connect with like-minded people that's doing good for the community and for the people as a whole, I'm like, yo, let's get it popping. But yeah, man, I've adopted, and before I get started on my playing career, I've adopted the saying of telling people I'm a professional failure, and I love that saying because so many people are afraid of failing, that I embrace it. And that's one of the things that I live by, that has allowed me to propel myself in business to where I'm at today, working for myself and my companies. But other than that, I started off the ambition to be a Major League Baseball player. I started playing baseball at the age of 5. And at the age around 10 or 11, idolizing guys like Ken Griffey Jr., Tony Gwynn, Derek Jeter. Those were kind of my big three of people that I looked up to when I was playing the game. Tony Gwynn, you couldn't get the guy out, and I was just like, and so many people respected him. And to hear the broadcasters just, every time he walked up to the plate, it was just like, here comes the holy grail of hitting. And I wanted that. I said, I want to be one of these type guys that they just, here comes Cj Beatty. So at the age of 8 and 9 is when I made up in my mind that, I want to be a professional baseball player. I want to have my name called on draft day. And I stayed with baseball, and God blessed me with a great talent, and I took care of it, and I worked hard. Shout out to my mom and dad for really pushing me and not allowing me to smell myself to the point where I can't continue to progress. My dad was a truck driver, so therefore he instilled in me the hard work. And my mom, just being the good mother that she is, she put that care and that nurture, and if you want it, you're going to have to be professional about it. Go about your craft in a professional way. So you put that together. That's when you come up with Cj Beatty. But I went on to high school and became All-State. And my junior year, I was blessed with over 65 letters to go to any school in the country, pretty much, for baseball. And if you name it, it's a good chance they came to my mailbox and wanted me to come out there for a visit, or wanting my schedule or something like that. So that was huge, because if you think about it, back then I was just like, oh man, that's cool. I have a lot of interest. But if you compare it to today, when I say I had 65 letters, people looking at me like I have 2 horns coming out my head. And I'm like, no, it's like legit. And I'm so glad I kept a picture of all these letters. I took a picture for the local paper, just, how that is. And I still have that picture with all these letters and medallions on the table. But so I chose North Carolina A&T State University, bro.
So what led you there? If you had a bunch of different offers, what was it that stood out about North Carolina A&T and led you down that road?
I at first, to be honest with you, my dream school was to go to Florida State. But that kind of changed because of the fact that I figured that the better I became, I would get a letter from them since I was getting a lot of attention around the country. But Florida State didn't come to my mailbox, and I was just like, well, I guess they don't really want me, and I don't want to go where I'm not wanted, So, and then my second dream school was to go to Virginia. Virginia was on me hard. Virginia ACC was going to be hard. Coach O'Connor man, boom, in the mail. Almost every other week, it was another, letting us know they was heavily interested and they wanted to see me. They wanted me to come on the visit. They wanted me to come to this camp. They wanted, I was like, man, I'm going to Virginia. Before I could get up to Virginia on an official visit, I had an unofficial visit to NC State because at that particular time, before I committed, the state games was there at NC State's campus, and all the people from around the state in your region played specific games at that stadium.
Okay.
I went off that tournament. Those games I went off. I hit my first backside home run at a collegiate stadium, and I was even shocked because I was like, whoa, I just hit a bomb backside. Like, that's cool. And when you hit bombs backside, for the people that's listening, an opposite field home run turns a lot of heads because that it does. And trust me, if you want to try to get some more heads, eat the right cereal and hit a bomb backside. that right there you'll start getting some attention, seriously. NC State was then after me. They gave me a hefty scholarship offer. And at that particular time, with the scholarship offer that they gave me, I was like, oh, shoot, forget Virginia. I'm coming down the road to Raleigh. This is the area that I'm coming, Raleigh, North Carolina, stand up, whoop, pack. Then I'm telling you, it's crazy. It's like people ain't loyal, man. People, who's loyal these days? I went on an official visit to Elon, like 2 weekends later, Elon University in the SoCon. And they offered me like practically a full scholarship, like piecing some things together, but baseball money. They was like, yo, this is like 90%. You need to come here. Well, I was like, shoot, this is almost free. Go Phoenix. I'm going to Elon, man. This is my place. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't got to show me nothing else. Y'all paying me? I'm coming. What's up? Telling people I'm going to Elon, great business degree that was well respected in the country. So I said, this is home, and it's close to home. It's Burlington. I'm 45 minutes away. Let's do it. In the wee hours of the night, here comes North Carolina A&T. North Carolina A&T came with an offer that I could not turn down. Literally, Coach Keith Shumate, shout out to him. He's now coaching Norfolk State. He contacted me late in the evening and said, hey, man, I don't know if we're going to have a chance of getting you the caliber ball player you are. It's probably going to go Power 5. But we just want to let you know if all these other people is telling you they're giving you full scholarship, it's probably pieced together and it won't be there if you don't qualify for the certain requirements. Because a lot of people in recruiting don't understand that. You have to qualify for these things every single year, or it's going to be coming out of your pocket. You know what I'm saying?
So like when you're speaking to, there's only a finite amount of baseball scholarships. A lot of those schools are piecing together academic money, financial aid, whatever the different combination of scholarships are.
And coaches will then say, hey man, you're getting a full scholarship, mm-hmm. But it's like 50% baseball money. And then the rest of it is being a minority, or your dad's a truck driver, or you like honey buns, and they can get 15% to that.
State school, or like different stuff that you can do. Yeah,
exactly. So we were kind of sitting there with that offer from Elon, like, oh shoot, he just kind of unraveled my scholarship. That's what they told me too. He said, and he was asking tough questions like, is this going to be available to you next year? What if you don't make the grades the first year? They're trying to get it acclimated. Is that going to be available for you next year? We was kind of sitting there like, I
hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
Nope. And then, oh man, he was a great salesman, because you know what he countered with? Hey, if you come to us, it's all baseball money. And I ain't trying to say we're not going to follow you with your grades, but even if your grades are not there, it will still be there. Oh, we were like, and then what had me, see, my parents was like, oh, for that. What had me was the playing time. He says, you go anywhere else, CJ, you probably be a starter because of your ability. but you probably won't be third on their team in batting. You got some upperclassmen there. You probably got to work your way up, or wait your turn. Here, we're going to build our seat. We're going to build our season around you. You're going to be our guy. And if I got to put that in writing, I will. I was like, whoa, like this dude's talking Reggie Bush deal over here. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, man, he said all the right things. But for me and my family, after prayer and everything like that, dude, A&T was 25 minutes from the house in Greensboro, North Carolina. They were D1 that year. I graduated in 06 out of high school. I think 2005 or 2004, not too long before I got there. They went to a Clemson regional after winning the MEAC championship. And I want to say they took 2 out of 3 from Clemson that year or something like that. They went down there and just made a name for themselves. I was like, whoa. So you mean to tell me I can get a full scholarship, go 25 minutes down the road? My grandmother, my grandparents, school teachers, people that want to see me play can just hit the highway and come watch me play at the D1 level? I said, well, this is where I'm at. And I'm going where I'm loved, not liked. Sign me up. Hacky Pride. Let's go. But that's the story, man. I got there and I played well. To wrap all this up, I got there and played well. I got all the accolades my freshman year, going into my sophomore year, first team honors and everything like that. Then the St. Louis Cardinals drafted me after my junior year. So here I am at that point in my life where I'm like, yo, this all came true with hard work, dedication, and everything like that. 8, 9 years old, I said I wanted to get my name called on draft day. And then in 2009, the St. Louis Cardinals selected me in the Major League draft, man. But after I got done playing and everything like that, I became a pro scout with the St. Louis Cardinals and assistant hitting coach in the minor leagues, and grew my resume that way. And now here I am as the baseball motivator and softball motivator on Instagram and all around the world on social.
So now for you, are you still scouting and coaching with the Cardinals, or are you doing more of your own thing, doing lessons and coaching locally, and then doing motivational speaking and merch and all that other different stuff?
Yeah. I thought that that's what I really wanted once I got that opportunity with the Cardinals. I was like, well, shoot, maybe this is my way of getting to the big leagues, because I didn't get to the big leagues as a player. I stopped in high A. So I was like, well, maybe this is my way to get to the big leagues. But being on the other side of the fence, as transparent as I am as a person, I saw that I was like, man, I didn't have what it took to be able to stay in that industry, and climb my way up. I just said, oh, man, I felt like I was back in the minor leagues again, all over again. And it's no slight to anybody that's having that as a career. But I had a lot of other things going on that people don't understand when I made that decision. Like, I was still the baseball motivator. I was still taking on speakers. My business was scaling when I took on that opportunity with the Cardinals. So it wasn't that I needed the Cardinals scouting opportunity or coaching opportunity to pay my bills, or to say like, I need to do this, so I need to be able to continue to keep my job. No, it was just more so, let's give it a shot. And if it doesn't fit, we're always falling back on what I'm doing now. So that's kind of how I made that decision. So right now, yes, I'm working for myself as the baseball and softball motivator, motivational speaker, hip hop artist, you name it. Shake an 8 ball, that's your boy, baby.
I love it. All right. So with one of the things that stood out to me the most about your message and just the way that you communicate is both the growth mindset. So you talked earlier about professional failure, and I think that's one of the most difficult concepts for anyone. Like, even I would say really driven people that excel at a high level are pretty good at learning from their failure, but just the idea of doing something new and that being a struggle is something that we usually avoid. Like, we would rather do things that we're good at right now than do something that is difficult, it doesn't feel good, and progress there, even though that's what we have to do to get better. So for me, one of the questions I had is that mindset that you have, is that something you've always had? Is that something you were taught when you were younger? Or is that something that maybe you learned as you got older? And kind of, if you could just speak to how you got to where you're at, and if it was something learned at a young age or something that you kind of stumbled upon as you went through professional baseball, through college, and into your life now.
I mean, honestly, I really believe that my life has shaped me into that. And it's kind of funny to as I think about it, I'm like, man, I know people on here like, how did your life shape you into that? If you were like this touted top of the class, ranked, full scholarship, 65 letters, like you're saying, like the underdog. Like literally, I've been an underdog my entire life, and I felt like I've had to claw for everything. And what I mean by that is like there's certain things in life that you feel that you should have been mentioned for in the top of the class or something, and I'll be at the honorable mentions. And I'm like, well, I got to grind harder for that. You know what I'm saying? Next year, I'm gonna make them pick me in that top class. So I've always been that. Wait a minute, they gave me this, and they gave that to them. I want that, so I got to grind for that. It's always been like a whoa, what happened? So, and it's elevated me every time because it's like even when I got drafted with the Cardinals, I felt like I was a top 10 draft pick, top 10 rounds. I fell to the 26th round. So again, underdog mentality, like, man, they slept on me. All those rounds, they slept on me. All right, I got the opportunity. Let me show them. So that's what I mean by it. It's just that I feel that at every point in my career, I had this turning point where I had to take that slight jab to the face and say, if you don't like it, we'll do something about it. But I think what really turned the corner for me to adopt that mentality of professional failure is when I became an entrepreneur and understood that this was really starting from ground zero for me because baseball came natural. Entrepreneurship, nobody comes out of their mom, an entrepreneur. Like that's something that has to be learned and it's on the inside of you. It's something that you got to commit to. So I understood through my, let's say through my journey of mental toughness, learning from other people that's done it at a high level, hearing them say, hey man, read more books, get more understanding. If you want this lifestyle, then you need to go through this, this, and this. Well, applying it and seeing it actually work. Getting on the phone with that multimillionaire that's telling me, dude, the struggles in entrepreneurship is coming your way. But if you continue to push past it, trust me, it's there. Wealth, knowledge, it's there. But you got to push past the storms that's coming. So when you get somebody that's highly successful to tell you it's coming and it starts to come, at the end of the day, well, what keeps you in the fight is he saw it before. And if he saw this coming and he's telling me all I got to do is stay in the fight and get back up again, I'm going to be successful myself. I got to trust him. And by trusting these people that's done it at a high level and telling me that, what's come, getting a mentor and staying the course has gotten me to this point. And as I look back, that's what I accredit it to is the fact that when failure stepped in, wisdom was left. I tell people all the time, open the door when failure knocks. Like open the door. Because when you open that door, you're going to like what you're going to see. You're not going to like what you feel from it. However, once failure leaves and walks back out the door, you'll turn around once you close the door and wisdom is left behind. So once I started to understand that success, that type of thinking perspective, I said, well, shoot, if that's the case, I need to start looking for failure.
So then the fear, the fear went away and it turned into a little bit more open. The same way we talk about with players, playing tight versus playing with freedom. You started to kind of operate with that freedom without the worry of like, this has to work out. It was like, okay, no, I saw you talk about working a plan. I think one of the posts I looked at that I liked was about having a plan and executing it. So for you, it became a little bit more, okay, here's my plan for whatever I'm doing. And then I'll handle the situation and either it works according to plan or I'll learn from the things that didn't work, apply it to the next thing that I do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big person with numbers. And if 2 + 2 = 4, then I apply that same elementary thinking to everything else. If you tell me, bro, on this, CJ, if you do this, this, and this, you will get this. And I look at you and I'm like, whoa, he's got to know what he's talking about because look what he has. Look what he's been through. Look what he's accomplished. I'm a numbers guy. If you're telling me it's going to work, Or if you tell me it's a great chance that it's going to work, and if it doesn't work this time, you try it again, it's going to be an even greater probability that it will work, then I go with the numbers.
So
I'm going to continue to run the course.
what was something for you in your entrepreneurial experience that hit you and ran into some failure and then you learned something from it? What was like a real life experience for you, or what was the toughest part of making that transition into the business world?
When I became a motivational speaker from my humble beginnings, seriously, humble beginnings, Lord have mercy. When I wanted to become a motivational speaker, my motivation was from Eric Thomas, him being a motivational speaker. He motivated me a lot. I was like, I want to be like another ET. That's my guy. ET actually responded back to me on Twitter with some steps on getting started. He told me to go the route of YouTube, and he said, go to YouTube and utilize that, because if you don't have a big following, YouTube can broadcast you around the world and you'll be seen other places faster than you'll be able to do things yourself. Go to YouTube, stay consistent. He said, no matter what you do, CJ, stay consistent. Well, the thing that he said was coming was inevitable. It was the failures, because the failures in my mind when I first started out was the views on my videos. So I put up these videos, I spend time writing notes, and my mom holding up the iPad. I have my day every Wednesday, Motivational Nuggets Wednesday. And I'm putting up these videos, bro, that I've done prepared all week for, and I'm pouring my heart and soul into these videos. And when I post them on YouTube, I got no views. The only views that I was getting was from me checking and the lady at your church, that supports you no matter what you do. It was just them. I had 14 views over 3 months, 20 views over 3 months. I'm like, this can't be it, man. How in the world am I supposed to be this big time speaker if nobody's watching? Like, how do I get people to watch? Like, this is crazy. But I kept remembering in the back of my mind, ET saying, CJ, don't chase the views. Just stay consistent, because along the way, you're going to stumble across some things that's going to help you get better and better. You're just going to keep grinding, keep posting, stay consistent. You're going to get better and better. You're going to master your craft by continuing to stay consistent. Man, I'm glad. I'm so glad I did, because the views got higher. And then I stumbled across something in the pursuit of consistency. I stumbled across a voiceover, and I did a voiceover attached to somebody working out, and that video took off. Light bulb came on. And I did another one with my voice, somebody else working out. Boom, took off. And I started getting people in my emails talking about, hey man, how do we get you to come speak? But by growing that, my mind, it gave me other ideas off of that. And then I said, And then I'm going to get ready to give somebody right here some free game that's going to take their speaking to another level. And I had never put this out there. You're getting it right here, right now.
You got a first right here.
You're getting it first. This is an exclusive world premiere, whatever you want to say. The biggest thing that helped turn my speaking career around, once I started to gain a little momentum, I went and I found a big organization. My first video that I did with a big organization, big brand, big university, whatever you want to say, was Wake Forest baseball team. Low-hanging fruit in my hometown of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I reached out to the coach and I said, hey, coach, here it is. Can I come speak to your baseball team for free? I just want to come speak to them. And if you don't mind, I would love to videotape it and put it on my YouTube to inspire some other young players. He said, no problem. I did it for free. Didn't ask for one red cent. It was a local speaking. Hell, I would have drove 2 hours for it. But it was a local speaking. I walked in there. I spoke. I put that on YouTube. And from that big moment right there, having a big brand attached to me, that's when people started to slide into my emails and say, how much is it to get you to come speak?
That's
and
awesome.
It's free game. It's literally free game. Because so many people think, dude, how do I get people to pay me? How do I get people to pay me? I'm like, Well, first of all, you got to work on your craft, but that's another way of getting it done is when you attach yourself to bigger brands.
So I think that's one of the tough things, right? And I see this a lot, whether it's athletics or anything else, is in being a former professional baseball player, you obviously know the amount of time and the amount of work that goes in to getting to the highest level, right? And I think with other things, a lot of people have a misconception of what hard work is and like the amount of time and effort that it takes to be really good at something.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like for you, you got really good advice early on and then followed it where it's like, okay, instead of worrying about how I'm going to take off in the first 2 months, let me just do what I really want to do, start developing that skill. And over that course of time, two things are going to happen. One, maybe somebody runs into a video and it takes off. Two, I'm going to start getting better. So when people do start watching, like I'm going to have refined my skills enough where it's going to be worth their time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I like that a
Yeah.
lot. So for you, one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you the most about was communicating with young players, working with young players, and how to best develop as a young baseball player. So, right now I'm doing a lot of lessons. We have an organization and, working with a lot of those teams. One of the biggest challenges to me is getting guys to buy into how important the mindset is
Mm-hmm.
and how to develop that, because everybody, especially in today's age where you have all the technology and the hit tracks and everything,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to see their numbers, everybody wants to see their exit velo and their distance, and a lot of times that focus on the skills that are going to help you have success in a game get lost because we're chasing different numbers. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to talk a little bit with you just about what you see as the most important skills to develop, and then if we could just kind of branch off from there and start talking about how to train those things and how to train the mentality and the mindset, along with the skills. I'd love to get your take first off on what you feel like is the most important thing to develop as a young athlete.
Shoot. If I could go back, I would have read way more books
What
when
what
I
are a
was,
couple books that you like? What are a few that stand out to you?
the first book that I got late in I think it was like early my freshman year in college, but it's something I should have had in my hand in high school. It's called The 5 Tool Player by Mark Gola. And, it's a pop-up book. I call it a pop-up book. It really isn't, but the verbiage, how they have it structured with bullets and pictures and things like that. And it takes you through every tool and why. And it's broken down from scouts, area directors, coaches, D1 coaches, D2 coach. It's, he asked a handful of people, to give their takes on why for every tool. So that was cool to be able to see. I think, a scouting director at that particular time. I think the book was written maybe over 10 years ago, but great stuff in there. That's one of the things you got to grow between your ears, man. I really grew up thinking that it was all about, bigger, stronger, faster, who throws the ball hard and everything like that. And who hits the ball hard. And I get it. I understand analytics matter, but analytics will get you there, but the brain will keep you there. It's the
and
thing. Analytics will get
especially
you.
and especially at the highest level. So you're
Yeah.
right. There's no doubt that the numbers are important, right? Like if you're throwing 83 as a high school senior, you're probably not going to one of those Power 5 conferences you referenced earlier,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's 100% an element of training those skills, but like you said, once you get to those higher levels, those skills start to balance out. Everybody has those
Yeah.
skills. And so then
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, okay, if it's not just the talent that's going to get you there, how do you differentiate? How can you be more consistent with what you do than somebody else? Or how can you outcompete somebody that has better skills than you? Because that happens too. Like there's a lot of first rounders that don't make it to the big leagues. So why aren't those guys getting there? Why are some guys that get drafted late able to make it? So for you, I completely agree. What's the best way to start developing that? Is it just finding books? Is there a system that you like to help your young players, kind of a process oriented system where they can tangibly write stuff out or have
Mm-hmm.
goals along with it?
Yeah. The system that I always talk, the two things, reading and note taking. Reading and note taking is really going to stretch the mind. The umbrella is becoming a student of the game. Like, you got to become a student. And people say, it's crazy if I leave it at that. I don't know why they don't correlate student with being a student in school. Because a student in school is crazy, because whenever you walk inside of your school, you become this student, where taking notes is like every day. Hearing a lecture is like every day. You're in this brain, in this mindset of, I'm a student, so this is what students do. But when it comes to becoming a student of the game, it doesn't correlate. It's just, you're sitting there like, what does he mean by that? It's the same thing. It's the same analogy. Like, take notes. World Series is on right now. You should have your notebook out, watching the World Series, watching your position. If you're a catcher, you got prime real estate right in front of your TV screen to see how Travis d'Arnaud is setting up. You're hearing the broadcasters talk about things. They always have Hall of Fame John Smoltz. Joe Buck says some good things every now and again, but but they always have great perspectives being talked about. If you would just turn the volume up and look for it, you never will find what you never look for. There's a lot of things that's being played. They're talking about, man, look how Correa, look at his footwork on turning this double play. Look at Albies. Look at what he's doing. You notice how they, in 2 outs, they were on the line right there, no doubles, protection. They're teaching you the game, right, without you even knowing it. But if you start to watch the game, intentionally watch it and study it, don't watch for entertainment. Don't watch to see, man, I hope he gets a hold of one right here, or he doesn't, let me go make me some chips and dip in the kitchen. No, the student of the game is the person that's sitting there like it's school. This is their craft. When you start to treat your game like it's your craft, you can do it. People will say, well, man, that's kind of like hard on a young kid. No, it's not hard on a young kid, because of the fact that these young kids that you're saying is hard on, they'll stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning, if you let them, to master this video game that's stretching their brain. They'll stay up and make time to do something that they shouldn't be doing, and they'll continue to play it until they master it, and they'll get it. Trust me.
And the reality too is, like, if it feels like a chore, so like if you're a 14-year-old right now and tuning into the World Series and studying it the way you're talking about feels like a lot of work, probably not for you. Like,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
I like that. I like that, bro. You hit it on the head. I say it to my speakers all the time. If somebody's got to make you go out there and throw, if somebody's got to make you go run, if somebody's got to make you and remind you, hey, man, did you swing today? Did you long toss? Did you do this? If they got to continue to remind you, stop lying to yourself and people and to your Instagram bio, telling people that you're going to the league, telling people that you love the game. You don't love it. You just like it. And likes can be taken off the board. It's a difference. When you love something, you don't have to be reminded. When you love baseball, you're watching this game on TV right now, the World Series, even if your team isn't in it, even if your team is a rival, because you love the sport. If you love it, it hits different.
100%. And like you were talking earlier with the skills and understanding the game and the situations and stuff like that, all that stuff's great. And I think the other thing that I like watching as a former player and somebody who is really interested in how to control the mind and how to play with freedom, like we talked about, I just love watching guys in big situations breathe. Like certain guys look like they're as relaxed as you could possibly be in a stadium with 40,000 people screaming, pressure like of getting to a World Series, winning a World Series. And I think studying how guys are able to do that should like illuminate some different ideas to people too. Like, this guy looks completely calm. Like, what is his mindset? What's he trying to do? And I think the more, as a coach, the players that come and are asking you questions and are trying to figure it out for themselves, those are the ones that are going to go to the next level. When guys are just coming in and taking whatever you say and that's the end of it, probably not gonna go that far to the point that you're making. Like, you have to take ownership of it and really pursue it with passion and with energy and put time into it, just like anything else.
Yeah, I totally agree. And to wrap all that up, man, I would just say to the young coaches out there, we already talked to the players on what they should do, but to the young coaches, I think that if they're, especially if they're not watching this right now, it's going to take you, the coach, you, the parent, to introduce them to mental toughness. Seriously, is it nobody at the age of 13 is going to have the mental toughness that they need to be able to take on life.
Mm.
That's something that is learned. That's something that is taught, introduced. You know, it's not that my parents didn't want me to be mentally tough, but they didn't introduce it to me. They didn't. You know, they were so fixated on other life skills that they didn't teach me mental toughness when it came to my sport, and they weren't supposed to. That's a coach's job. And if you're a coach and you're not introducing those kind of components to your players, then start it now. Walmart has books on sale, notebooks on sale for less than $1. Less than $1 is couch change. Get your clients notebooks, get your players notebooks. Tell them and teach them. Have a practice. That's what I do in my practices for the youth. When I'm coaching teams, I give out notebooks and I say, "This is your girlfriend." You know, if I'm coaching my softball team, here's your boyfriend. If you never had a boyfriend or girlfriend, here you go. I just gave you one. Take good care of them. Treat them with respect. Write the good, the bad, the ugly. What goes on at practice. Chart your games, your goals, your practice goals. Write it down. See what you're doing is you're teaching them accountability and you're starting the journey to stretch their mind. And by holding them accountable, did you bring it? If you didn't bring it, hey, get those legs moving. Let's run. Who else didn't bring their notebook? Accountability. Because if they can start to adopt the process, it's bigger than baseball and softball. If they can start to adopt the process of becoming a professional note taker, it's going to carry them far in life.
So
because
that's
whenever they
sorry, go ahead.
No, but I'm saying because whenever they stumble across something that baffles them or gets them kind of like bothered, or man, I didn't really get that. That's when that key skill set is going to kick in, and they're gonna be like, "Ooh, I know what I need to do."
Dude, so that's where I 100% agree with you too. To me, as coaches, we're preparing young kids to be able to handle the different challenges that come up in life. So we talked a little bit about it from an entrepreneurial standpoint. It happens in everything, right? That's what life is. There's different obstacles and challenges that happen. And the reality is that most of the guys we work with aren't going to play professional baseball. So to me, the most important thing that we can do is start to develop some of those skill sets that are going to apply to everything else. To me, one of the challenges that I want to talk to you a little bit about. So, you know, a lot of times, especially guys that are good players as younger players, training things that are difficult or making changes when they've had success in the past, but the success they had isn't going to translate as they get older. What do you think the best way to build someone's confidence up, allow them to have success, but also explain and focus on things that are going to be foundational as they get into high school versus allowing them to do whatever, have success right now, but it's not going to translate as they get older? How do you go about being able to instill those foundational things while it's still being fun?
Give me an example, Coach. Go ahead and give me an example of some things where you've seen on the youth level what you're asking. Like, is it more on the pitching side, hitting side, all the way around? What do you give me an example?
So I work with hitters predominantly. I'll give you an example of one of our teams that we work with. Really good young team. All right, 10 going on 11. So these guys have had success. They're good athletes. Every single one of them on this team has front side fly open. And so in the cage, we can crush balls to the pull side, put up good numbers, feel good about it. The reality is that a majority of the pitches you're going to get are middle of the plate away. And right now, the way that guys are swinging, they can't handle that pitch. They can't handle off-speed pitches because everything is back going across the zone, in and out of the zone. And so if it's slow enough pitching, BP, we can cheat and we can still hit outside pitches that way. But as we get into a game, that's not going to translate. So like in the example I'm giving, this team we work with is awesome, and they have parents are awesome. Everybody's on board. But even with all that, as a young player, you're sitting there going, but hold on, like I've been killing it. You know what I mean? What do you mean I'm not going
Yeah.
to be able to do this as I get older? And so that
Yep.
challenge of getting guys to understand and not feel attacked, but to embrace it and say, okay, if I want to get to the level I want to get at, then I'm going to work on understanding how to attack the middle away pitch and what direction is, what an approach is that's going to put me in a position to handle every pitch instead of only being able to handle middle in. So like that's a concrete example that's come up lately
Mm-hmm.
with me. So like in that situation, what's your approach to communicate like, hey, there's a reason why we're doing this, and to get guys to
Mm-hmm.
buy into that idea of there's going to be some uncomfortable times early on, there's going to be some failure early on, but long term it's going to lead us, it's going to provide a foundation for us to have success not only at 10, 11 years old, but as I get into high school and hopefully beyond.
Every time I come across a situation very similar to that, the first thing that came to my mind is competitions. If you're working with individual players, competition within themselves, between themselves, and competition between each other, because that's where the fun aspect of trying to get. I mean, it's almost like, hey, I need cardio. Well, I hate running. How else can you convince CJ to run? Because in the long term, he needs to be able to run if he wants to stay healthy. Well, coach, the best thing I would introduce is take him on the basketball court
Mm.
so he can play basketball, because that's cardio without him even thinking about it. Or take him out there and play some flag football. Take him out there and let him run around on the soccer field, because you won't think about running. You'll be playing. You're having a good time and you're getting it accomplished. So as coaches, we have to find other ways to be able to get them engaged and actively competing towards getting what you want them to see. But while you're getting them in that, and while the fun is, then you calm them down and say the reason why we're doing the backside drill today, the backside competition, is because you have to understand. Raise your hand if you want to go to the next level. Raise your hand if you want a D1 scholarship. Raise your hand if you want to play pro. Raise your hand if you want to play in the major leagues. Well, you got to be able to hit to all fields. And some of you guys, this is going to be your last stop, truth, if you don't understand how to learn to hit the ball the other way or hit the ball to all fields. And that's why we do these things like going the other way, high tee the other way, things like that, just to get you to learn that, because I don't want you to stop here. I believe in you, Austin. I believe in you, Riley. I believe in you, Adam, that you can go the distance. But if you don't believe in going the other way, you are not going to get, the chances are you're not going to get that scholarship.
Yeah, no doubt. No
And
doubt.
but literally those competitions, it'll bring them out, because they don't want to sit on the sideline and be like, I don't hit the ball all the way, coach. I just pull it. Well, you're no good in this drill, and nobody's going to want you on their team. And they're going to sit over there and see everybody else having fun, playing this backside drill competition, and they're going to buy in. And then you as the coach have to learn when to praise the kid or the player when they're doing great things. You see him bust the ball the other way finally, stop. Get around that L screen, be like, hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's how you do it right there. You do that same swing in the game, that's a double in the gap. It's clearing the bases. That's what I need for you to do, so he can get that trust in you to be like, whoa, okay, maybe I can do this. So it's a family. Everybody's playing their part, working together. But it starts with the coach, man. You got to get them to buy in. And I think the best way is through competition, because that gets them to work on that without thinking that they're working on it.
So it's funny, we met as a group to discuss this, and that was one of the big points that we had is, okay, one of the things we want for this group too is to learn how to compete, because that's a skill too. Like learning how to embrace difficult challenges versus shy away from them is a skill. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. I like the perspective that you had on that and how to go about it. For me, one of the other things I was curious to get your perspective on is working with guys. So, everything is attitude. Everything is your thoughts and your emotions create your reality. When you have guys that come in and maybe are struggling, and you can tell a guy's down, you can tell a guy isn't confident. What are some ways to communicate with those players to get them to buy into the idea that as long as they keep that mentality, the shoulder slump type of a mentality, they're going to continue to get those results. And we have to make some sort of mental change to tap into the physical change that we want to get.
Well, I mean, when I go speak at the coaches' conventions, they usually bring me to come speak about connecting with the players, right? Too many times I see coaches mean well, and they'll call out things like, of course, his body language is bad. And, I've reached out to him. I told him, hey, man, you're not going to the major leagues with that attitude. Nobody's going to want to scout you with that attitude. But they don't understand that the disconnect is not that you're not telling him the right information. The disconnect is you simply have not connected with that player. It's so many times that whenever think about this, the psychology of it. Nobody comes out of their parent or mama, again, slumped shoulders, bad attitude. It could be something away from baseball that has this person thinking that way.
Yep.
And it takes the coach, which is sometimes the most stable thing in a player's life, to be able to dig down underneath the dirt to find out the root of the problem. And to answer what you just said is, I'll answer with a question. Are you connected to that player? Like connected, not just their coach. I'm saying connected. Does he trust you? Because if you find yourself saying it over and over again and there's no change or no effort to change, then that connection is broken or it's never been established. And he don't trust you, and it's going to be hard to get something out of a mule that doesn't want to go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think, as a young coach, I've definitely been in that situation. I've definitely connected well with players. I think one of the tough things is, as a coach too, you're bringing your whole reality into it, right? So we all have days where mentally, emotionally, maybe we're more connected or disconnected than others. And so sometimes in those days, like you said, the message can be coming from a good place. The message could be good, but it's falling flat and you can feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I think that's a really good point. And, okay, so I kind of want to talk a little bit more about what young players can do and information that can help them. So if we were laying out a game plan, we've got young players tuning in right now. We're laying out a game plan for them to get to the next level. What would you recommend? What are 3 or 4 pillars that you would recommend to start right now that are going to build a foundation for them to get where they want to
go? First, I would say health and nutrition needs to be one. Because everybody wants to go to the major leagues, but the body that you have right now might not be the body that's going to take you there. Health and nutrition is very important. Getting in the best shape that you can to compete. I see too many people that are 3 to 4 inning players. 3 to 4 inning players. They're great. Their body breaks down in the 3rd, 4th inning, or 2 to 3 game players over a weekend where they need 5 to win the championship. That 4th game, they're like flat, dead. Great swing, great potential. But when I decide to finally come see them in the games that matter, they're flat. They're dead, flat-footed, not getting great jumps because they're out of shape. So health and nutrition, be careful of those foods that you put in your body.
Amen to that.
Seriously, be careful of that. Drink a lot of water, especially hydrate. You know what I'm saying? You have to hydrate. I don't think people understand that hydration starts about 6 to 7 days, no less than 5 days before your game. Like, people don't understand that component. They feel like, I got a game tomorrow. Let me get my water in. It don't work that way. Hydration starts about 5 to 6 days prior to your game, so your body can start that filtration process to get you ready. So people don't know that, right? So 1, health and nutrition. 2, I would say become a professional note taker, student of the game. Like, literally, study your game. My mentor told me in baseball, he said, find your favorite athlete and copy what they do. If you like a second baseman, if you're a second baseman, find your favorite second baseman. Go to YouTube, find videos of them working out, or go to a top second baseman in the league that has videos of them working out at your position. Scroll it slowly, look at their footwork, copy their footwork. Emulate greatness. Millionaires copy millionaires. If they're turning double plays and they're following their throws, follow your throw. If they're putting it here close to the face on the exchange, put it there close on the exchange to turn that double play. Get out there and copy your way to the top. That's what everybody does. I mean, seriously, I'm not trying to tell you go out there and, wiggle your bat like somebody else is doing. I'm just talking about footwork. Break it down. If you need help, get with your coaches and break down some videos of what you're doing, right? Your parents are probably already videotaping you. That's all social media is now. It's just your parents videotaping anyway. Tell them to get on the open side. That means chest side of you hitting. Turn the camera horizontal and tell them to videotape you. And then watch and see whether you're late. Is your foot getting down? Just start becoming a student of the game, studying. And that's going to help start that process. And then I would say number 3, man, be the best teammate that you can be. I'm serious. I didn't have the best year of my life until I put myself second to my team. Statistically, I had the best year of my life in pro ball when I put myself second and my team first.
What do you feel like that did for you mentally when you made that shift?
It freed up stress. I stopped stressing, bro. And the game became fun again. Like literally, I put myself second. Runner on second base, I'm not thinking about hitting a home run. I'm thinking about hitting something hard to the right side to get that runner to third. And when I got on the third, I was happy I executed the situation. And I was even happier when the next guy got him in. When I started to play that, it was contagious to the whole team. And me as a leader, I set the foundation for the team. Man, we won a championship that year. I got picked up by the White Sox that year. It's crazy. The time that I decided to put myself second, that's when things started to work for me.
So I want to stick on this a little bit from 2 different angles. One, in today's day and age where everything is online, recruiting processes started way earlier. You have Instagram and everything that young guys are on. I feel like the mindset of I'm trying to get recruited, I'm trying to go here is very prevalent, which is understandable. And also with that, I feel like there's way more stress and way more anxiety on these young players than we had even, 10, 15 years ago. So what would some of your advice be to young guys that feel pressure during the recruiting process or feel that the weight of the world that maybe we felt in pro ball right now when they're in high school? What would some advice be for those young guys to be able to play with that freedom and have fun playing the game again?
Man, control the controllable, man. Scouts' job, if they want to remain a scout, they got to bring talent in. When I was a scout and everything like that, scouts talk and scouts are lazy. So therefore, if scouts don't want, what I mean by lazy is if I can't get out to see you, I'm making a call and say, hey, Zach, hey, how's that kid over there at Northeast? He pretty good? Do I need to come see him? Oh, I do. People, look, control the controllable, play your game. All right? Play hard, play your game. Don't chase stats. I know stats is going to get people to look in your way, but I've seen too many people, and if I'm sure if a player's listening right now, I've seen and you've seen too many people get scholarship offers, commit, get drafted or something like that, and they didn't quite have the stats because scouts see other things. I can go to a game and watch somebody go 0 for 4 and go talk to their parent, right? Versus that kid that went 2 for 4 with a double and 2 RBIs. Because that 0 for 4, right, I could look past that. I could look at his makeup, the way he carries himself, what he did defensively in the game to say, man, this kid has that it factor. He's just off right now. I want to come back and see this kid.
Or what those outs look like,
Or what
like
those outs look like.
what
You know what I'm saying?
what pitches he was attacking, the type
Could
of
have been a
swings he
long,
was
could have been
taking.
a long, yeah, could have been a long AB. Great eye, worked the count from 0-2 back to 3-2 before he got called out. Something like that. It's something there. And that's why I'm trying to tell kids and players today, play your game. Be the best teammate that you could be. And know that when you step out the car, somebody's watching you. So even when you're not having the best game, go at it with all you got and make sure when you're in the dugout, you're being the best teammate and vocal captain that you can be. Because we're watching. We're watching every move.
So with that idea of someone's always watching, you hear that all the time in baseball, right? You never know who's watching, so play the game the right way, do things the right way. I think even more than that, do things the right way all the time, because that's how you get where you really want to go. That's how you develop into being the best player or whatever else that you can be. For you, I'm going to use your music as an example right now. So doing something like that, putting music out, is a vulnerable thing, right? And I think, like, even for me, there's times I'm starting to make music too. I haven't really released any of my own. There's a vulnerability there. There's a little bit of a, how is this going to be perceived thought. Do
Yeah.
you ever feel that at all with music? What do you do to push through that and to trust what you're doing and not worry about what other people think because you believe in what you're doing?
Man, it goes back to that. I've created this attitude for life of, if it makes me happy, then I'm going to do it. Once I got past the part early in my life with the view situation on YouTube, and I just said, hey, no matter what, I'm just going to stay consistent and I'm going to do it. And it makes me happy. If it makes me happy writing music, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to put it out there for the ones that like it. It's all perspective now. When I put out my music for baseball, when I first started, I didn't put my music out to say that I was going to be platinum, multi-platinum recording artist. I put it out just because I thought it was great music, and it was something that spoke to all baseball players. I wanted to be a voice for baseball players when I created my music. And that was it. I just put it out there. And if people liked it, they liked it. If they don't, they don't. Hey, so what? And it's grown tremendously. But at the end of the day, my mission was not to be famous. It was just to put something out there for, if people liked it, I appreciate it. But I think in life, if you just lead with the right goal of just saying, hey, man, this makes me happy, and I do it just because it makes me happy, then you'll be able to maintain that. But if you get out there and say, hey, man, this has got to hit, this has to hit for me, then I feel like you're going to be in a rude awakening when it don't hit. Just do it because you love it.
Or the reality too, if it does hit, it's always going to be like, oh, now I got to hit again.
Yeah.
And that's
but then at the end of the day, if you start out to say, I do it for me, like if it hits, I'm like, hey, it hit, do it again. I'm like, oh, I do it when I feel like it. Because it's not me. I'm not Cj Beatty, the hip hop artist. It's just something that I do. So for me individually, if one of my songs does hit and they're like, yo, you need to be able to do this again, I'm kind of like, well, I mean, I'll give it my best shot. But if it don't hit, no sweat off my back, because that's not who I want to be.
What would you say? What would you say your purpose is?
I want to be a change agent, man, a change agent. And I want to change as many lives for the better before I leave this earth, man. And that's why I wanted to become a motivational speaker, because I just felt like I'm changing people one opportunity at a time. An opportunity like this, there's probably somebody listening that's never heard of me before. That's like, yo, I love that. I love that energy that he brings. I like that. And I needed that to be able to go on in my pursuit of a college or pursuit of professional baseball, or just being a professional, or just being, maybe I want to become a professional failure like Cj Beatty and become more strong-minded when failure is presented. So this is the moments that I live for. And how I made that transition is understanding that baseball was, it's okay for me to say this now, baseball was my selfish goal. And I feel that when you find out what your purpose is in life and operate within your purpose, then that's when you know exactly where you need to be in life. And while I was trying to balance both, like chase the major leagues and getting re-signed and free agency and playing overseas while trying to grow this business, I had to make a decision. And that decision pushed me more towards motivational speaking, because I said, when I'm on stage, whether I'm speaking to 5 people, 500 or 5,000, it creates this feeling on the inside of my chest, this thump that baseball could never give me. And I love baseball, but the way that when I get off of that stage and you get people to come shake your hand and say, thank you, I needed that, or or you get mail or emails from parents crying, talking about, hey, we didn't know what to do with our kid, but ever since we tuned into you, those type testimonials, it lets you know you're right where you're supposed to be. And I said, that's what baseball could never give me. And that's why I love what I do, because it's like I know that I'm changing lives.
I like that a lot. Do you ever feel now in the climate where hyperbolizing and going to extremes gets a lot of views? Do you ever find yourself, like, one of the things I liked about your content, I feel like it's very honest, it's very genuine, and it's not antagonistic or trying to be really extreme to get a reaction. It's a lot more grounded in, like, hey, here's what I've learned, here's what I'm communicating. Is that something that you make a conscious effort to do, or is that just come kind of natural to you to communicate in that way?
I would say both. Because as entrepreneurs, there's times, honestly, where you just like, man, not not taking my answer all the way right, going with algorithms and everything like that. But, it gets tough, because at one point, before the algorithms were what they were, what they are now, it was easier to be seen and discovered, with a simple hashtag and S for S, shout out for shout out. You would get, oh man, you shout me out, I shout you out, and people will gain exposure that way. But with it, what it is now, it's nasty. The algorithms only, I got 53, 54, whatever thousand followers, and I could put up a post, and if it doesn't hit right away, literally like 1,000 or 2,000 people of my 53,000 will see it. And that's crazy, right? It's nasty numbers, bro. It's like, whoa, that's disgusting, but I made up in my mind a long time ago to stay consistent in what I say and do. What separates me from all the other motivational speakers out there, or a lot of them, is I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to get on that stage and say, hey, you want me to show you how to make $1 million? Follow this step 1, 2, 3, and this is how you do it. No, I'm gonna get out there and say, hey, listen, let me tell you something. If you don't walk the right way or do this right way, you might as well get out of here right now. If you're gonna walk in here and not take notes or act like you've heard it all before, because I know one thing, you can't tell yourself how to make $1 million if you never made it before. So what plane are you on? Are you dreaming? So it's those type of things that I really think that has me and my social media where it is today, is because I'm not going to bend or break. I'm going to continue to tell people what they need to hear, and stay with it.
With the work you do with young players right now, are there one or two things from a mechanical standpoint, hitting wise, that stand out to you as points of emphasis, or something that you really feel like is a foundation for young hitters?
Yeah, I would say this. I'm not a big fan or an advocate for the launch angle. I'm not, but I am a fan of it as a resource, and it's a tool. It should be used as a tool. I think that, professionally speaking, that's why the Major League batting average was down this year, is because of the birth of launch angle and the height of how popular launch angle became.
And how you get paid to hit home runs.
Velocity got up. Pitches are nastier. Pitches are throwing harder. You're literally getting up there like to 87, 88 to 90 miles an hour breaking balls. Yeah. Like, what? breaking balls. That was fastballs back in the day, like
Yep.
breaking balls. So things are sharper, right? They're elevating the ball more. Remember back in the day, they say get the ball down.
It
Well,
completely flipped.
because of launch
Yep.
angle is elevate the ball. So I really think that like I'm more of a stronger advocate for staying out the air, maybe more top hand through the ball. But however, I always clear this up by saying this: I'm not a cookie cutout coach. Whatever works for you works for you. If you take a lesson with me and you're a person that's steep, I'm not going to teach you top hand. I might introduce you to some launch angles to be able to get that smooth that out a little bit to get you more on plane.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just always want people to understand that all of these things, and the only reason why I'm more top hand than launch angle is because everybody's top hand, everybody's launch angle. You got kids that's the size of my broom in the pantry trying to hit bombs and they can't get out the infield. So I have to become that guy that fixes swings and say, hey, let's try to work down through the ball so we can be able to smooth this out. I'm not telling you to chop at it. I just need you to be able to get more on plane.
Right. And sometimes that over exaggeration too, though, that top hand through or working down through the ball is what gets you on plane and gets you in the middle. You know what I mean? No, I completely agree with the idea. You can't tell everyone the same thing, right? Certain guys actually need to hear the opposite thing, right? There's certain guys that might need to hear down through it and others that might need to say, hey, try to hit this ball as high as you can to the opposite field right now, just based off of what they're doing in that moment. With what you brought up about that shift from trying to work down in the zone to working up in the zone because guys are trying to get underneath the baseball, do you feel like that's something that eventually is going to push the game back to where it was before, where guys make the adjustment to try to get to the high pitch, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's start working down again because guys have made the adjustment to handling high fastballs? Do you think it's one of those things where it just kind of like goes back and forth, or do you feel like the style of the game has shifted and it's going to kind of continue in that direction?
Now, I think that I think it's going to go back and forth because it's all going to come from some reigning MVP or whoever's hot right now to get on. Because if you remember, one of the turning points, one of the most pivotal points in young hitting careers was the Josh Donaldson video.
Oh yeah.
When I watched it live. When he said what he said, I don't even like hitting off a tee. I want to. I said that was one red flag. And then when he talked about, I like to work up through the ball. I don't want to hit ground balls. That's an out. Well, yeah, Josh, it is an out at the major league level. Okay, I get it. But we're talking to youth players here right now. We're talking to people playing rec ball, little league. Everybody's tuned in, and they're like, yeah, man, I don't like hitting off the tee. Why do you want to hit the ball on the ground? It's an automatic out. Not at the youth level, Josh. Ain't nobody hitting the ball out the ballpark. Your scouting report almost had a goddamn 80 for your power. So you can hit a pop-up over the fence, Josh.
It is funny, though. It is funny how that transformed the game. So that was in the middle of my career. I was probably 1 or 2 years into pro ball at that time. So that opened me up to a new idea of how to hit for sure. And I'm a small dude. I was always taught down through the ball, and I was probably a little bit steep. So it helped me. But like anything else, dude, it's easy to do something, feel good with it, and then start to lose that feel and over-exaggerate. You need a little bit more and a little bit more to create the same feel. And before you know it, you're losing the barrel behind you and underneath. But you know what I'm saying? So I think that's one of the things that stands out to me, too, working with a lot of young guys, is just understanding that feel isn't going to be consistently the same every day. And starting to get an understanding of what you're doing and why, and being able to make little adjustments without panicking every time it doesn't feel great, you know?
I mean, dude, when you said that, I remember there was times in my career where I thought, and I was a switch hitter, but it was times on my left hand side, I had to think. I mean, it's crazy to say this. I had to think, hit the hardest ground ball you can at the feet of the pitcher, like the hardest ground ball. But that translated for a line drive in the left center field gap. It translated that for me, right? But my mindset was hit a hard ground ball at the feet of the pitcher. Stay up the middle. Hit it as hard as you can, right back up the middle, right? And then also there's times late in the season where that's not working, where I've over-exaggerated it so much that I became too steep that I had to literally say, hey, man, try to hit a bomb right here. Literally just try to put it in the seats. Like, literally put the ball in the air and try to put it in the seats. And it worked to close out the season. Like, I caught fire again. I went cold a little bit with trying to hit the ball hard at the bottom of the feet of the pitcher till I found a spark when I was in BP one day just saying, hey, man, just try to hit bombs today. And then it translated. I hit 2 home runs in the game. I'm like, ooh, I found this slot. What are you thinking now? I'm just trying to put the ball in the air. So, but what happens is the only difference is I know that that's not what I would teach. It's a tool. It's a tool. I'm not going to start this academy and be like, hey, man, I got shirts that say put the ball in the air.
Hit bombs.
And everybody that comes through is called the bomb squad. What are we doing? Dip, drop, and drive. That's all we teach here. No.
Let's clip that and put that on his Instagram.
Exactly, right? But that's what I felt like everybody is doing these days. It's just cookie cutout. Is, hey, man, drop and drive work for me. It's going to work for you. It's going to work for you and work for you. And, Mom, if you want to take lessons, I'll teach you how to do it, too. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, I think that's something for me, too. I've worked with a lot of different people. I have friends that worked with a number of different hitting coaches, and the idea that there's one swing is not true. I mean, I've watched guys do it different ways, think differently, have different styles, and I think understanding that too as you get to higher levels, as you get, elite high school players, college players, understanding what you do well, how you move is really critical to understanding what you need to be thinking at the plate.
The more I tell the kids all the time, man, I say, hey, man, do you not know? Well, now I'm going to tell you, you do know. Your best coach is going to end up being you by the time your career is over with. It's not going to be me. I mean, I appreciate if you say it is, but it's not going to be me. Because you're going to have a lot of information gathered over the course of your career from me, from other coaches and other coaches. You're going to put together all the things that work. You're going to stay away from all the things that didn't work. And at the end of the day, you're going to be your best coach because you're going to be in the box. You're going to be the one making adjustments. You're going to be the one saying, I felt this. You're going to be the one to say, I need to do this. You're going to be the one to say, I need to show up early. You're going to be the one to say, I need to leave late. It's going to become you. You're going to become your best coach. So it's important. It's important that you know that it's a game of adjustments. Stop panicking and just continue to make them. For
you, what makes the best hitter? Is it more mechanical? Is it more approach? What do you think that balance is to success in the game?
I think it's more approach. I think it's more approach and less mechanical because of people like Hunter Pence. Hunter Pence was one of the most ugliest stances known to man, caveman.
Oh yeah.
It was ugly. I mean, raked because it was more approach.
What was your approach, or what do you teach? There's a lot of
like ugly stances, ugly this, ugly that, physical this, small this, Jose Altuve 5'6", Albies 5'7". I think it's approach because if it was physical would say that these guys couldn't hit it out the infield.
So you talk a little bit about your approach from the left side. What do you teach to young players? What's your approach for you're coaching a 12-year-old team and your mentality as a group?
I say everybody needs to have a default. They start out with an approach, and I tell them, hey, this approach will change over the course of your career. You might hold on to this approach for a year. At the end of this season, it'll evolve. Sometimes you find yourself going back to it. But I think a default, if you run into players that don't have an approach and they just up there, hit the ball hard, coach, hit a bomb, try not to get out, they don't have an approach. So I would give them an approach. And a standard approach is 3 things. Where you're aiming, that's 1. Up the middle. Seriously, if we're starting from the bare minimum, and you should know your players. So if you're like talking about a player that's less talented, that doesn't have the ability to be able to understand how to keep their hands inside the ball, then up the middle. Aim for center field. Because if you mess up on a ground ball and it's up the middle, if it gets past the pitcher, chances are you got a base hit. So up the middle, that's 1. 2, hands to the ball. Hands to the ball. You got to control those hands. You can't just swing all arms. This ain't slow pitch softball. You can't cast out and start dragging the bat through the zone, thinking that you about to caveman this thing over the fence. So hands to the ball. Get those hands working. Keep them loose. And 3, intent. Do damage. That's the default that I always give them, because if you're in the box saying that I want to do damage, that's going to help you be aggressive. I don't like coaching timid players, so I tell them the third approach is your intent, and I'm intending to do damage to this baseball.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest one for me, the intent part of it. We always talk about hunting the fastball middle. I think that gives guys a little bit easier time having intent. Like, okay, I know exactly what I'm looking for. I'm getting my body going, like you said, with direction. Those are the two biggest ones to me. I feel like, especially at young ages, guys worry about getting beat by inside fastballs, and guys worry about if they're going to throw breaking balls. And anytime we're worried, indecisive, we're not going to be taking our best swings.
Hunt the fastball, baby. Always. Hunt the fastball. It's been an old saying forever. Hunt the fastball, react to the curve. Sit fastball, react to the curve.
And there's a reason why, for sure. Well,
for sure.
CJ, man, I really appreciate you taking time to talk today. Enjoy getting to know a little bit more about your story, talking through some different baseball stuff and life stuff. And is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, or any other message that you have before we go?
Hey, man, just for all the new people out there tuning in and learning who I am, I would love to have you part of the TBM TSM family. Follow me on social. Got a book out called The 18 Elements of Mental Toughness. It's called Big League Dreams, but Little League Minds. You want to grow your mental toughness, grab that book. But other than that, man, I would love to have you part of the family, man. And let me know if you're from this. Slide in my DMs, let me know, and I'll follow you back.
And what's your Instagram handle? We'll put it up, but just so people can hear it too.
At Cj Beatty 44. Cj Beatty 44.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you taking the time.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me.
Have a good night.
All right.